All right, so we are back. 6 week hiatus. We're gonna we're gonna pretend like that didn't happen. Good thing,
Never happened.
we were on a break, but good things were happening. You didn't miss anything of significance. We're back at the playoffs, and I mean, it's playoff time, so you know what to expect from us. Last year, we delivered with you know top points, ended up winning the league. Got a ring for the podcast. This year, we're expecting no different. And I mean, you anything else you want to start off with, or are you ready to just jump
No,
into
I
it?
mean, what did you guys really expect? Really? Like, did you think we'd both miss the playoffs after
No,
years like that? No, no, no. And we're gonna get a ring, one of us.
exactly. So we'll recap again the last 6 weeks that we've missed. It's been a good amount of fantasy football, but we've done pretty well so far. I guess we both split our results, three and
Both
three.
3-3.
I guess we came out our last time we talked to you guys coming into your matchup against Cohen, which you won. How did you feel about that, and just the rest of your season so far?
That win against Cohen was huge, and then I really expected to pick up a couple more easy wins against Yusuke and Matt, but I did not, and that really hurt my chances of getting the 1 seed or just a bye or really anything. And fortunately, I picked up a couple easy wins too against Joel and Adwin. Adwin's game ended up being close, but huge win there. Thankfully for my season, that really got me into the playoffs, beating Adwin. So I was fortunate enough there, knowing unless I really dropped like 0 points in the last week, I'd make the playoffs, and fortunately I didn't. But then I lost to Sebastian all because of Josh Allen. I'm never going to forget that. 52 points, 51.88 if we want to be specific. Gonna always remember. I used to like Josh Allen. That's the thing that's sad. And now I have a vendetta against him,
That was
unfortunately.
the highest scoring quarterback performance in fantasy history. The most the quarterbacks ever scored. Like it was ridiculous.
Unfortunately, that literally lost me my chance of the bye. And then, let alone later that night, Adwin took away my most points with Jamar Chase with a 40-point game. Like, are you kidding me? A 50-point game and a 40-point game. I wasn't even playing Adwin, but he dropped 40 points with Chase late in the night, and that touchdown beat me with it. So
Still lost. Still lost.
not a great, and still lost. Like still missed the playoffs. But we'll get into that. We'll get into that in a sec here. But yeah, how did you feel your last 6 games?
I mean, start of the season was great for me. Last six, even though I went 3-3, it felt a bit underwhelming for me.
I feel that.
Going through, I not scoring more than 110 points. Still, not going lower than 85. So it's like even my bad or 80. So even my bad weeks, it's not that bad, but haven't seen my team really explode and go off in the same way that it was going off earlier in the season. I guess, that was one thing since it's been so long and the trade deadline happened, I think.
Yeah.
I traded for Alvin Kamara. So that was probably the biggest
Big.
acquisition that I had. Traded Matt Cohen, Kenneth Walker, Zach Charbonnet, and Zay Flowers for Jerry Jeudy, which has been sick so far, and Alvin Kamara. So that trade, I was
Good
swinging
trade.
for the fences. I feel like a good trade, but it hasn't translated into my team like breaking out or really having super good performances. So heading into the playoffs, I do feel confident. It's on paper. I have Derrick Henry and Alvin Kamara. We'll get into the matchups in a little bit. Feel confident on paper, but haven't put up the numbers in recent weeks to really make me feel like I'm heading into the playoffs with momentum. So obviously, fantasy momentum doesn't really matter that much, but still, it's haven't seen the results in the last few weeks to make me feel like I'm going to be able to smash the playoffs in the way I want to.
I feel that, man. Let's get into those end of year standings. I mean, a lot has changed since you guys last saw this, but as you can see, most points was Adwin, and Adwin missed the playoffs. I mean, this is like legendary. I mean, it's classic. Of course, it happens to Adwin too. Really, no words. Like, how did that make you feel, Anthony? Seeing that?
Sad one. I mean, it's unfortunate. It's really unfortunate. We'll talk more about Adwin in a little bit, but I think it it really just goes to show. I think it was good that we went to a 12-team league. And, it shows that we have really good competition in our league. Even though, we expanded, we still had a few teams that weren't really good at all. To have our 7th place team being 7-7, almost getting 1,600 points, I think that's, that's crazy. And Ian being right below him, way less points, but still at 6 and 8.
Sorry, Adwin was 8th place, just so you know.
Or 8th place. Sorry, 8th place. Even crazier with 1,600 points is nuts. And Ian below him at 9th at 6 and 8. Like, to have 1st through 9th all be in, like we were talking about before, Ian was 1 game away from being 500. Like, exactly. To have the top 9 seeds of our league be so competitive and within reach of the playoffs that close to the end of the season, like,
crazy.
It was crazy. And I mean, for Cohen ends up keeping that 1st place spot, but it was all in flux. Matt Levin, he was at the top for a good amount towards the end. You were in play for 1st place towards the end as well. Like, it was a lot of moving parts towards the final few weeks of the season, which is, ended up putting a lot of things into play. It makes the playoff bracket a lot more interesting, but it was stressful for a team that ended up not having a bye and ended up, still making the playoffs, but not in the position maybe that you were hoping for.
Yeah, exactly. It sucked, but obviously, at least you make the playoffs. You take that, and we move on. Now I get to beat Matt. First round.
First, though, we gotta get into Sadwin down. I mean, like we were just saying, this is back-to-back years that Adwin has made it as the playoff down bad. Last year, he crashed out, awful losing streak, lost his way out of the playoffs after winning Rookie of the Year. So he started off great.
He started off going up, then
it's been awful since. And he's gonna, for the purposes of our league, he's gonna get his money back. So respect, I guess.
Points. Congrats, Adwin.
Respect in that, but you're also at risk for getting last place still. So if Adwin,
hopefully you don't get that.
It's like the fantasy football gods, they might just will Adwin into a last place spot. That seems like something that, it might be destined to happen. So Sadwin season right now could be even sadder based off of the results of what happens later. But yeah, just an unfortunate end to the season for Adwin.
Imagine how mad you must feel winning most points and not making the playoffs. Not even just missing the playoffs, being the 2nd team out. Somebody else would have made it before him.
Doesn't even have a chance. Doesn't even have a chance to make it in the playoffs and win. It's like if you're in the playoffs, you have a shot. And if you have most points going into the playoffs, you would think.
You think somebody in there should have most points, but no. That's how it really is anybody's year. That's kind of what I think.
I think it was I saw a thing. It was like similar to, there was like, if you had Saquon on your roster, there's a 50% chance that you make it to your fantasy football finals. I saw something else with Jamar Chase. It was like, if you have Jamar Chase, it's a high percentage that you make it to the finals. And Adwin didn't even make it to the playoffs. Didn't even make it to the playoffs. So,
God, Adwin, how down bad can you get?
But next year, there's always next year. Maybe you'll
not get last.
Make the playoffs. Experience. Better than the consolation bracket. That's what we hope.
Yeah. Hopefully, Adwin. We'll see, though. Let's get into what matters more, though, with the winners bracket. We got Matt Cohen, as you said, and Sebastian getting the bye. Sebastian really heated up at the end of the season there. That was, he always had a scary team. Like, we talked about it before on this podcast. He's, like, not an easy win. He's clearly a threat here with the bye. And so is Cohen. Cohen, he had a bye. He had a good team. I think a lot of his players have gone down, but you never know what to expect. It's the playoffs. It's fantasy. Anything can happen. And then our matchups. You want to talk about your matchup? How you feeling at first glance, facing off against a rookie?
Yeah, Lucas. Respect. First off, respect to the rookies who made it into the playoffs. Respect to the rookie class in general.
A bye and 2 playoff bids. We said max 1. We were wrong about that. I said that at least.
Yeah, it was like Sebastian. He beat both of us in the last 6 weeks of the season. I'm pretty sure I had 2 matchups with him, and he beat me both times this year. Like he's been really good this season, and it's having him on my. I was really hoping the math was going to work out to where I ended up on Cohen's side of the bracket. I was like, that would be great for me. Sebastian's side of the bracket is definitely a lot tougher, but my first matchup is Lucas, and I feel good about my matchup against Lucas this week. You know, it's he has a solid team. He made it into the playoffs. His final matchup against Adwin was crazy high scoring. So, you know, his team definitely has a high ceiling. But, you know, I've done business with Lucas so far this year. I think that business is going to end up playing to my advantage in our matchup. And yeah, I think I'm going to end up having an edge over him this week, but I definitely feel like I have the tougher side of the bracket.
Yeah. At first glance, I feel like you definitely do with Sebastian on your side, and Matt being depleted at running back. But we'll get into those matchups a bit more specifically in a sec. Let's look at, I mean, obviously we kind of mentioned it, but the eliminated players. Our graphics designer, Matt, clearly letting us down here. There's 3 other players that should be on this list. Missing.
He's been slacking all season long. He assumed this responsibility himself.
No chance
he hasn't done it. But
he's
yeah,
never going to make his own eliminated bracket.
Yeah, it's like they're still not there. So, you know, it is what it is. Karma's going to enact itself on him in the first round of the playoffs. He was talking all types of we're just going to we're going to let
it play out.
We're going to let things play its course, but you know, our Matt letting us down in the graphics department yet again this season. So just you know, but shout out to our eliminated teams. You know, our fallen.
Yeah. I mean, these guys have been gone for a while now. You probably were. They were technically still alive when we last talked to you, but they're pretty much done then too. But yeah, I mean, this is a more clear look at the losers bracket. It's a little unclear how this is going to play out with like the bye and what that even means, but I mean, it's got to be Alex or Joel that loses. I would put money on that. Alex or Joel. Their teams are awful.
Yeah, I feel like Alex or Joel, maybe Ian as one of the other teams, but yeah, the fact that if Adwin, even Yusuke, you know, having an 8-6 record, you know, if either one of them, if Yusuke,
the fact that he's there at 8-6 is crazy.
Crazy.
We're not talking about that enough.
I was like, that's crazy.
I got it at 8-6. Even
like 8-6. Yeah, that's 8-6 being in the consolation ladder.
Remember the stat we said? Like, if you get 6 wins, you make it in. Not this year. We would have had 9 teams in with 6. Holy.
Yeah, it's crazy that an 8-6 team didn't make the playoffs. Yeah. But still, it's, you know, I think it's going to be interesting to see how things play out. Again, fantasy, you never know how things are going to go. Granted, Alex and Joel definitely do have the worst teams in the league, so I would bank on it probably being between their matchup this, I think, or they're the ones with the bye, I guess.
Yeah.
Or I don't
really know how it works. But either way, look, they have, between the 3 of them, they have 30 combined losses. That is crazy. 31 combined losses.
Yeah, it's nasty work. It'll be one of them.
Season is 14 games. They basically oh my god, that is crazy. One of them better lose. They deserve it. If Adwin somehow lost, though, that would be comedy. And then getting into my matchup, it's time. Matt, you ready to lose? You better be, man. I mean, this is revenge here. You beat me a few weeks ago. Your team is very depleted right now. Breece Hall better not play.
He's not.
Rashad White is dog. Like, he's awful, man. I hope Bucky Irving's playing. So Rashad White is basically meaningless at that point. T. Higgins, he goes off every other game, so that's a little scary. I will say that. Terry McLaurin, I don't like rooting against Terry McLaurin. That sucks. I love Jaden Daniels, though, to combat that. Brock Bowers on Monday night, I really don't like that. That's one thing I really don't like about his lineup. Or it's intimidating, I'll say. Cortland Sutton's been decent recently. You don't really know what to expect there. I hope he gets shut down, but we'll see. He also probably picked up Commanders D just to taunt me a little bit, but we'll see. I'm not gonna let that get in my head. I'm over the mind games. Justin Tucker's been awful this year. I actually hope he goes
Yeah.
negative. I could see that happening. He's an awful kicker.
Bum.
He should be on the streets right now. He should be doing what we're doing right now. He should not be on the practice field. And I mean, what is he playing? Kyler Murray? I guess he over Justin Herbert. I mean, if Kyler Murray ends my season, I'm going to be very annoyed. That would make me very annoyed. But Justin Herbert, I think he's kind of the better play. He's had a decent season. He's been kind of heating up. If he's questionable, I mean, he's probably going to play. But if Matt's not going to play him, I guess I'm rooting against Kyler Murray with a lot. But yeah, I feel pretty decent about my team. I was talking to you about before the podcast about Debo. I don't know whether or not I should play him, but he's been so bad recently. I've been benching him, so kind of feel like I need to keep him there. Njoku's been decent recently. Jacobs, my 3 running backs have just all been really good. Jacobs, Montgomery, Williams, they've all been decent. Need Garrett Wilson to keep it up. Hoping your QB can help me out with that. D-Hop, I really banking on him again. He's been averaging about 8 a game, but he's been heating up now, getting better kind of chemistry with Mahomes, I feel like, and he's getting 8 to 10 targets. I feel maybe not 8 to 10, but he's been getting a lot more targets than when he was first on the team. So I really like that option, and they have a good game against Cleveland, so I feel like that's low-key going to be a tight game, and they'll have to squeeze that out somehow. So he'll be in the game and involved all game. So I like that. Defense, I'm a little unsure about, but I'll figure that out. Probably stick with the Packers, and I got the best kicker in the league, so go Chris Boswell. I feel good. 115, 108. I like it.
I think you're in a good spot, and Matt's roster is such he was talking a lot of smack. He was first place for a little bit. His roster though is an example of make sure you have contingencies. Make sure you have real depth. He has nothing behind at running back. He has nothing. He picked up Madison and McLaughlin this week. McLaughlin, I guess, is a solid pickup maybe against Indiana, and most likely is going to end up being his starter at running back instead of Breece Hall. I'm assuming Breece Hall ends up not playing this week. But
yeah,
it's that's not that just going into the playoffs, that's not what you want. The fact that I have Braylon, and we'll get into my matchup in a little bit, but the fact that I have Braylon Allen, and he has J.K. Dobbins on his AR slot, I have Gus Edwards, and I have Braylon Allen. That shouldn't be happening. He
messed up.
Yeah, it's that. Despite his depth at receiver, I think the running back depth, you need that going into the playoffs. You got to have 2 solid guys. And I think that's going to bite him in the butt here. I think, especially if Breece Hall isn't playing, even if he is playing, I don't think he's going to be playing full snap count. They said yesterday that he was struggling with his knee injury. So if he isn't shut down for the season, if he does play, it's going to be limited. If he has to start McLaughlin, that's a shaky play. Denver's backfield has been fantasy wasteland all year. It's
for real.
I think there's just too much uncertainty with his team, and between you have 3 top 10 running backs. I think that's enough to be confident in going into this matchup. So yeah, I'll lean your way.
So.
But yeah, we'll see.
Appreciate it. Hope I take this guy out, man. I need this.
We need you to take Matt out of the. He's been talking too much.
Don't worry, guys. I got it this time. I understand it now. All right, let's get into your matchup. We got a Lucas versus you, obviously. How you feeling going into this?
I feel good. I feel good. I think that my team is solid. My biggest dilemma really was what to do with my flex spot. Another thing that I feel really good about. We were talking about before this. Even though regardless of what's happened this season, I love the way that I've managed my roster. Like, I feel like outside of the whole tight end mess, I need to just leave tight ends alone like that. Every year I learn that, and yet I continue to try to make good moves with them. Tight end is a mess, but outside of that, I feel like I've positioned myself really well with a lot of great options.
Yeah.
Held on to the number one waiver spot for a while, was able to get Isaac Guerrero. That was key for me last week.
Paid off.
I know. Khalil Shakir was someone who, like, I drafted. I had a lot of faith in. I was really banking on him being a good option, and he has delivered throughout most of this year. Picked up Braylon Allen, Gus Edwards, and Kondre Miller. Like, I've stocked up on my backups as well, and traded for Jerry Jeudy. That was huge. He's been amazing so far, like a consistent starting option. And Jawan Jennings, who I got from Lucas for Kareem Hunt. I think that trade,
revenge game for him.
yeah, it's like that. I think is ultimately he's going to be one of the deciding factors of this game. We're recording this right before the Thursday night game, so between Jawan Jennings and Guerrero, and then Puka and Cooper Kupp on his side, that's going to be pretty decisive in our matchup. Like, I think we're going to have a pretty clear idea of how things are going to go after tonight. So, feeling good. I think I'm in a good position. Kamara as well. Ben, again, like having Kamara and Derrick Henry on paper. Judy's been doing 6. Like, on paper, I think my roster is positioned to win this.
Yeah.
But
I 100% agree with you. I think the only threat to you is Kupp and Nakua, and that really comes down to tonight. Really, I think even still, if they do go off, I do think you can still beat them.
I could.
But just you don't want to get off to a bad start, especially on Thursday night like this. And we talked about this before. If they get above 30, or if they get below 30, I think you're fine. If they start getting above 40, that's where you're maybe not looking as great, like combined at least. But we'll see what happens. It really depends on how the game kind of goes, how it shakes out. But I kind of think it is nice of him, or not nice, but like it's a smart play to start both of those guys, because in this situation, like, it's boom or bust, and he needs a boom here, and I could see it happening potentially. But overall, look at all the check marks. It says it in and of itself. Like, really, the only threat too is also QB. Obviously, Aaron Rodgers, 50-50. Like, they're playing the Jaguars. I like that decision. Jalen Hurts is one of the best, so you can't complain. But that's gonna be a good game. That'll probably be low scoring against Pittsburgh. So we'll see what happens there. But as you can see, it's projected to be close. But I definitely think you have the advantage here.
Yeah, no, I feel good. Another player on his team though who really I'm really afraid of is Jonnu Smith. I think he's done a really. Lucas was able to get him off of waivers, and he's been really, really good so far this year. Like, if there's 1 week this year where Hawkinson, delivers on everything I've been waiting for. It's been 15 weeks. I drafted him. He was in my IR slot for most of it. He was on my bench for one of his good games. Please, TJ Hawkinson, give me something good here. Like, if I can get a touchdown out of him, I think that could really be the difference maker. Because I think everyone else on my team, I have pretty consistent volume. It's like these are the number one options in their offenses. I know that they're going to get the ball and get touches.
Exactly.
Hawkinson's been disappointing this year. So if he can do well, if Aaron Rodgers can throw like 2 touchdown passes, and if I can get a touchdown out of Guerrero tonight, I think I'm going to be in a good spot. So
no, I totally agree. Really comes down to tonight for your matchup, at least.
I know, which is like it's either I'm gonna feel great heading into the weekend, or this is gonna like ruin the rest, or like I'm just not even gonna care about fantasy. Like, this could be the end of my season.
I don't really see an in between, honestly. Like, I feel like it's either gonna be like, oh, he's killing you, or like it's close, or not really. It's close. You got this, or he's killing you. Like, I don't.
And he's pretty. It's like, and his players are on the Rams. I'm betting on the Niners, and he's betting on the Rams pretty much. So
literally, you might as well throw some real money on the Rams, man. Just to like hedge it out. That's funny. But yeah, I hope one of us at least makes it through. If not, either way, we'll come back, probably share the results of the season.
Mhm.
But again, one of us will at least make it through.
We're going,
I'm sure of it.
at least one of us, both of it. Why not both? Why not both? We may look.
Who knows? Who knows?
Look, we've
Clean
proven.
sweep in the first round.
Look, I'm feeling a clean first round sweep. Maybe it'll be an all podcast finals this year. We've been pushing towards it, so maybe this is the year. We'll see.
This year can actually happen. We're both on different sides.
Yeah, I was like, it could be this
Let's
year.
go. Thanks for listening. See you next week.